I didn't think this day would come. I'm not going to stand here and say I've always wanted to write a book and here it is. I didn't think I would ever write a book because I'm not a very clever person, and you all know that about me. I'm not very clever. I'm very practical. And I'm going to be honest with you, I found this really hard. And I do think I will do one more, because I want to write a book about conversations in real life, you know, with your partner and with the neighbour and with the teacher of your kids and all that stuff. But that's going to be it, because this was a nightmare. It was really horrible. And I was trying to work out why. And I think it's because it's the written word. And I look around and there are many writers in this room standing next to each other. They gravitate towards each other. And I am not a writer. I'm not a writer. I work with enough writers to know that I'm not a writer. The written word for me is like this. They're aid memoirs. They are prompts to speak. They're not a thing in themselves for me. And I'm reminded of when I was a kid, my mum used to let me stay up and watch Parkinson on Saturday nights. My mum gets a couple of mentions in the book. Of course she does. And she's not here tonight. There was a guy on Parkinson who spoke brilliantly about the fact that language, written language, is a code. Written language, words are a code for what we speak, that for a long, long time, there was just speaking and listening. And then somebody at some point must have thought, I want to write this down. And they went, what do you mean write this down? It doesn't even exist as a word. I know, but I just got a hunch. And it is, and so I struggle with the code of spoken and heard language. So I am really proud of this, not because I think it's any good, because it's finished. Honestly, there's a last page and everything. And I had a little thought, an idle thought this week, which was, just imagine that between us all speaking and listening to each other, and then written language emerging, just suppose someone had invented the internet between those two times. And I wonder if we would have ever bothered with the written word. We would have just been YouTubing each other and, you know, texts, no emails, no written proposals, no written plays, Tim, sorry, what would we have done? You would have had to sat down and tell everybody what the play was, and they would have had to learn it from you. Pretty much what happens. It's not what happens at all. You know, it's an unnatural act for me to trust the written word. So I struggled with it, and like every good maverick, I fought it, you know, and I took, where's Zoe and Sam, now they are, who started all this off. I said to Zoe, I want to make this really different. I'd like to, because spoken language is so rich, and the written word is so black and white. I want like different colours, different sizes, different spacing, loads of different fonts. And then I kind of went, I know, but this is, Zoe, this isn't a book, this is an iPad book. And so he listened very beautifully and kind of didn't say very much and just said, sort of didn't quite pat me on the head, but went, Carl, just write the book and then we'll have to talk about everything else. Zoe, I've written the book. But anyway, but I'm not a fool. I know that there is a value in the written word, but I wanted to consider notating almost the words, you know, making a code out of the code. Finding a new vocabulary, if you like, to signify the unsignifiable. It seems to me a pointless act to try and write down conversation. Those of you who know my work well will know that I trust the recorded, you know, I record and edit and do podcasts and do audio, not video. And that's because I believe there is so much you can hear if you attend, if you listen in a proper way. You can hear so much more when you listen to somebody speak rather than read what they say. People are beginning to talk about mental well-being at work and the damage that anxiety and worry and stress and, of course, depression, those, you know, associated nasties, are having on people. And I think that feels to me like an emerging theme. And so if this book goes any way towards helping have conversations about that difficult, sensitive area, I will be well pleased. I hope it's helpful to a range of people. I hope it's helpful to the 55-year-old neighbour that I bumped into the other day, who worked for a business for 25 years and it went under in the recession. And for the first time, in that amount of time, he's having to go for job interviews, 55, going up against 30-year-olds, 25-year-olds. And he's terrified. I really hope this book helps him. I really hope this book helps a really lovely girl that I met on Monday and worked with. There's a digital agency called We Are Friday. Very confusing when you put it in the calendar, doing We Are Friday on Thursday. And she's called Cami, and she's from Romania, and she's a developer. And ironically, not many women are developers. Listen to that sentence. Developing is a very particular bit of the digital world, right? And she's brilliant, but she's the only woman in a team of men. And at the end of the conversation that we had, 3-hour session on feedback, giving feedback, she was in tears because she said she doesn't feel she's got the confidence not to give feedback, but to ask for it. So I really hope it helps people like her. I hope it helps all the small businesses, the small groups of people, the social enterprises who are thinking of starting something. You know, as the economy begins to turn, and people go, I might start this. You know, and those people will be doing the jobs of 20 people and there'll only be 4 of them. If they've got great ideas, I hope the book helps them do a little bit more and to flourish and not to wither on the vine. And this is the one it's really interesting even talking about this amongst this group of people. Because the people who I work with in the creative sphere, people like Tim and John and Andy, who's not here tonight, and others of you who know me very well, and I, you know, very often simultaneously, you know, go to the Royal Court and then to Unilever, or to, you know, the Almeida and the Roundhouse last year. And I sometimes I used to get embarrassed about saying to people like Tim, I'm going to Unilever, I'm going to do this thing, or Liz, who runs the brilliant Educare Small School with her husband Peter at the back of the room. You're very familiar with this duality that I have. But I hope that this book helps big business, and let me tell you why, as concisely as I can. I think that government has taken a fucking long lunch break, and that business is the only thing, like it or not, capitalism is currently the only game in town. And so it falls to big business to take responsibility for things that government should. Let's talk about leadership. Look at the lily-livered leadership we're getting right now, whether you want to think about Gaza, the Ukraine, Iraq, Nigeria, right? Those guys haven't got the balls, frankly, to do what's right. Business has got the balls to do something, to do what's right, not sure, to do what's profitable, you bet. But what they're learning is that profit, you know, doing good by doing well, is becoming something that they're just having to face up to. So business needs to step into that space, and that needs some big conversations. The second thing is legislation and law. We used to know our boundaries in the world because of what was legal and illegal. Well, guess what? The world changed. The internet changed the world. Things happen now so quickly that no law stops it. We can put a few bankers in prison afterwards, but we can't stop it happening. So business has to have purpose and responsibility, and that requires some big conversations. And finally, short-term and long-term. That's what government used to do. Governments were supposed to look beyond the next 5 years and into the next 50. Well, we all know that's not happening. Business is around for a lot longer than governments. And they're learning too that they have a responsibility. And the environment is that, you know, it's beautiful. Isn't it? What an amazing day to be launching this book. And the sun is shining and the temperature is extraordinary and all that kind of stuff. What the fuck is happening to the weather? Everybody knows there's something wrong. We know that the ground underneath us is almost literally moving. It's moving away. And we are the custodians, the guardians of this planet. We don't own it. And yet, if you look at what most people are doing, including myself, all of us, are kind of trashing it. And what are government doing? Not very much. Business needs to step into that space. And if you think that, why am I talking about that in relation to a little book? Well, you tell me that there's not some conversations missing in that area. And that area is the most fundamental. It doesn't matter how many plays we fund. It doesn't matter how many social enterprises are going. If we haven't got a planet to inhabit, it doesn't matter. This is ever such a little book, and I don't expect it to have much effect, but I would just like it to just ripple a few ponds and create a little bit of movement, because I believe where there is movement, there is hope, and where there is hope, there is possibility. So I just hope it creates a little bit of a shift for some people who meet it at the right time in their life. Thank you to everybody who got me here. I'm not going to go through a list that's in the book. You have to buy it, so you already want to thank. But the people who aren't in the book are Steve and his magnificent team here, and Isaac and Emily who helped today. Steve Moore is the short man in the blue t-shirt standing at the back with the blue. I want to thank Linda and Joe, who runs the bookstore, and everybody here, and everybody who's ever had a decent conversation with me. Anybody who's ever challenged me, anybody who's ever said, Karl, I'm not sure if that's right, can we talk about it? The answer will always be yes. The answer will always be yes. Thanks for coming. Do buy some more, don't have to buy them. You can take them freely from my sons, have some more drinks. And the idea is that I sit next door. This is so bizarre. And sign some books. Thank you.